Hello everyone, and welcome to this tutorial that introduces Metaphactory's vocabulary management interface and demonstrates how existing vocabularies can be explored and extended. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to first go through the tutorial on visual ontology modeling with Metaphactory. And, as you go through this video, we encourage you to reproduce the examples shown here in a separate tab in your instance. So, let's dive right in and have a look at the vocabularies that have been loaded in our Metaphactory instance. As you can see, the vocabulary catalog is quite similar to the ontology catalog. We can import and create vocabularies or download or delete existing vocabularies. We have two vocabularies loaded in this Metaphactory instance, both coming from public projects: the European Skills Vocabulary and the Data Theme Vocabulary from the EU. Similarly to the ontology catalog, in the vocabulary catalog, we see some metadata for each vocabulary. For example, the European Skills Vocabulary includes 122 terms, 4 of which are top-level terms, and 0 collections. Let's have a more detailed look at the vocabularies. We'll start with the Data Theme Vocabulary, which is a controlled vocabulary that lists concepts associated with themes used for data classification. On the left, we see a panel to explore the terms and collections in this vocabulary. The Terms tab displays the terms in the vocabulary in a tree, according to their hierarchical structure. Collections are used to organize and group terms under a common label. This is something you will be experimenting with in the hands-on exercises. At the top of this panel, there are several other tabs with additional information, similar to the ontology modeling interface. We can look at or edit the metadata available for this vocabulary. For example, add a creation date, a creator, a contributor, or a publisher. For vocabularies created within Metaphactory, the creator and contributor will automatically be pre-filled with the user who initially created the asset. However, we can still edit or extend this afterward. Additionally, every time a new user contributes to or modifies the vocabulary, this will also be automatically captured in the provenance metadata. We can also save our vocabulary to Git for versioning if Git integration is set up in Metaphactory. If we click on one of the terms in this vocabulary, for example, economy and finance, we see its identifier and all of the information related to this term, such as the preferred label in various languages. If there are hierarchies in the vocabulary, and if the term is part of a hierarchy, a collection, or if it has any other relations to other terms, we will see that on the right. We can edit terms by just clicking on the edit icon. For example, we could add a preferred label in a new language, synonyms, or a definition. To see which properties are used for these fields, we can just hover over the question mark icons. Finally, we can also deprecate or permanently delete terms if needed. To create a new top-level term, we can use the button on the bottom left. We define a preferred label, for example, privacy, create any synonyms that might be relevant, add a definition, and click Save. Once we've created a term, it will immediately show up in our list on the left. We see the provenance metadata reflecting our contribution to this vocabulary, and we get a new unique identifier for this term. If we now want to create a subterm, we click on the 3 dots next to the top-level term that this subterm belongs to and click Create Narrower Term, for example, Data Privacy. We can also use the import functionality to create new top-level terms or subterms, and you will get a chance to work with this in the hands-on exercises. To create a relation other than broader or narrower between two terms, from within this vocabulary or across vocabularies, we click on the 3 dots next to the term we want to edit, and then on Edit Other Relations. Now we can, for example, define that data privacy has a related match digital data processing from the skills vocabulary. This can be very useful for mapping vocabularies across the organization, for example when individual teams use different vocabularies to describe the same or similar concepts relevant to the business domains. And we can of course also edit the hierarchy in our vocabulary. So let's say we want to define privacy as a subterm of one of the other terms. We click Edit Hierarchy, and we can explore all of our concepts and say that privacy is a subterm of justice and the legal system and no longer a top-level term. Every time we make changes to one of our terms, these changes are immediately reflected in the vocabulary and in the panel summarizing how the term is included in the hierarchy, how it relates to other terms, and which collections it is included in. Let's now have a look at the other vocabulary in our system: the skills vocabulary, the multilingual classification of European skills, competencies, qualifications, and occupations. The skills vocabulary has a more complex hierarchy than the previous one, with 4 top-level terms and many different subterms. The functionality is the same as for the other vocabulary, of course. We have the vocabulary structure on the left. We can have metadata and Git versioning. And if we click on one term, we can see details available for this term, we can edit it, and we can see where it fits in the hierarchy. One more thing that is maybe worth mentioning here is that we can also search for terms using the search bar on the left, which can prove very useful, especially with such a large vocabulary. To create a new vocabulary, we navigate back to the vocabulary catalog and click on Create New. Here, we are prompted to enter a title for our new vocabulary, while the IRI and namespace of the vocabulary have already been pre-filled in the form. By default, this will be vocabularies.metafax.com, but we can change that if we want to. Additionally, customers can change the default namespace for all vocabularies according to their internal guidelines, and restrict users from changing these to comply with internal governance processes. But we will not go further here because this part is reserved for the hands-on exercises. And this concludes our intro to vocabulary and taxonomy management. As a next step, you can walk through a series of hands-on exercises that will help you create your own vocabulary from scratch using Metafactory. Thank you for watching.